Hey folks, and welcome to the grand finale of the Sonic 2 Tails playthrough. This time around I'm moving through Sky Chase Zone, where if you play as Sonic, Tails is the one flying the tornado plane, but if you play as Tails, Sonic's the one flying it. But anyways, the game is still the same between the two, so when you're playing in Sky Chase Zone, it's still an auto-scroller, and you just gotta deal with these enemies, and same amount of rings, and you still gotta be careful not to spin dash off the plane, because it's possible. Believe me, it's possible. But it's also possible to get hit a bunch, and I'm not too worried about it because there's no score tally at the end of Sky Chase Zone. It's just a one act that you gotta just kinda scroll through for the sake of the plot. But it leads into Wing Fortress Zone, which is up next. But yeah, I'm already at the tail end of this game. But yeah, I mean, so far it's been a pretty cool experience going back and getting pretty good at Sonic 2, and I feel like I've always been decent at Sonic 2, and going back and being able to play this far through without any deaths and getting all the emeralds in the first zone feels pretty good to be able to knock out all these cool little accomplishments. Although Tails is just like, ugh. He's probably just like, it's just all part of the business. But I am no perfection king of Sonic 2, as I still have plenty of deaths in my playthroughs, and even getting to the point of recording this Tails run was a bit of a chore at times. But I recorded it all in one take, so that's kind of what I was aiming for when I recorded it, just to get everything as good as possible for this one take, and then anything less would be less. Anyways, let's keep things rolling along to Wing Fortress Zone. And this time Sonic is the one who gets knocked out of the sky, and he'll be back. You just go through here, get a bunch of rings. It's possible to get a couple extra lives in Wing Fortress, but it's also possible to get hit a bunch by the enemies. It's also possible to fall to your death in bottomless pits. And, I mean, these things happen. It's a Sonic game. It wouldn't be a Sonic game if you didn't have bottomless pits to fall to your death. And that's basically everything below me at this very moment. So just kind of carefully wait for these platforms to appear where they appear. And that's actually going to do it for the worst of it. Now I just need to mosey on through the rest of the Wing Fortress. Wing. I want some wings. Wings are good. You can never go wrong with some good chicken wings. I love chicken wings. Even if people give me crap for the fact that I like to get them boneless, and people are just like, well, those are just chicken nuggets. Well, you know what? Screw off. I'm just kidding. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But I preferred boneless chicken wings just because I feel like you get more chicken for your dollar, and wings are good regardless. I love wings. The TV sitcom, Wing Fortress Zone, and chicken wings. But anyways, you seen I kind of fell and had to do some accidental backtracking, but it's nothing to worry about, folks, because that's just something that happens sometimes. I guess it's to be expected. That's just the way it goes sometimes. But yeah, not gonna be a problem this time. Now these propeller looking things, you gotta watch out for those, and you gotta watch out for a couple of disappearing platforms, as they can definitely screw you over. But sometimes they can work to your advantage, like I just got that extra life. I do not believe there are enough rings ahead, although I could be wrong. Oh, I am wrong. Yeah, I got another extra life. 29 lives, folks. Which I feel like is a pretty cool accomplishment, to get 29 lives at this point in the game. But now the next thing I need to be focused on is getting to the end of Wing Fortress and stopping the big bad Dr. Eggman. Of course, you gotta look out for those chicken enemies, as they shoot eggs at you. And eggs and eggs and eggs, and I just slide on back through here. And the other disappearing platforms that I was referring to, these things here, they're kind of like, they kind of remind me of the propellers a little bit, but you gotta be really careful and time your jumps as you're going through here, because they will disappear on you. And I know a lot of my younger playthroughs of this game, a lot of them ended here. But I guess I can be said about any zone that I wasn't very experienced at playing through. I'm sure. I've probably game overed in every zone in the Sonic 2 at some point. I'm sure we all have. At least all of us who've played the game all the way through. But anyways, go ahead and get this next checkpoint. Not gonna get 200 rings, but there's Dr. Eggman once again, up to his old tricks. Now this time around, he's not in one of his mech/robot machines, but he has a robot machine thing on standby there to fire laser beams at you. Now that I have 0 rings, I need to be a little bit more careful. But you just gotta hit this thing a few times, look out for the spikes, look out for the laser. Of course, Eggman's standing in the far right corner there, being all smug, looking at the screen like, "Ha! You can't stop me! He's not going to get away with this. Get a load of this." Okay, for the record, I will do a Sonic Adventure playthrough one of these days. I like Sonic Adventure. But for now, I gotta do another playthrough of Sonic 2. As I just decided, you know what? I'm gonna do a playthrough of Sonic 2 because I like Sonic 2. Tails is my favorite character. I didn't feel quite as 100% as I did with my first playthrough of Sonic 2. And I still don't feel 100% with this one, as I'm just trying to come up with stuff to talk about sometimes. But sometimes you just gotta let the footage speak for itself, as now I got 30 extra lives, and things are looking pretty good going into the Death Egg zone. The Death Egg being Dr. Eggman's machine that is kind of like a Death Star ripoff, but that's alright. Because now Sonic has got the tornado fixed this time, and now it just gotta latch on to Eggman's rocket ship. Now the really cool thing about Sonic Jam is there's an easy mode option that shows up where you can actually make the levels a little bit more easier to get through. Certain platforms are eliminated, rings are added in places where they wouldn't normally be. And one thing I wanted to point out is going into the Death Egg zone and the Sonic Jam on the Saturn, there is with the easy mode option you can actually turn rings on for Death Egg Zone, which is a nice bonus. As you see, I've already lost 2 lives off screen. I went ahead and edited all that stuff out just to keep the playthrough rolling along as smoothly as possible. But yes, I no longer have 30 lives, I have 28 at the end of this playthrough. And even though I am Tails, I still have to deal with Mecha Sonic here. But I no longer have to deal with Mecha Sonic here. And Eggman's just like, "Oh, I gotta get out of here." But as a last-ditch effort, he's got this giant Death Egg robot, which I believe is just referred to as the Death Egg robot. And you just want to be careful to make sure you don't hit him at the wrong time and get yeeted into oblivion. Because I prefer to hit him whenever he is jumping up into the air or whenever he is slamming back down to the ground. So those are your best opportunities. Makes it a little bit more difficult as Tails too, because Tails' sprite is a little bit shorter than Sonic's, so that means that his hitbox and hit detection is a little bit smaller than Sonic's. So you just gotta be really careful here not to get hit. and I can't remember. I think it's 12 times that you gotta hit the Death Egg robot as opposed to 8 with most of Eggman's mechs, but that's alright. It's all good. As you see, I've already cut out all the deaths and all the BS, so I wouldn't have this here if I didn't succeed through. Spoilers, I guess. Man, I wish Death Egg Zone could have been 2 acts like it was originally intended. Like I've said before, there's a lot of cut content from Sonic 2 that I really wish could have been in the final product, but it's just the way it goes sometimes. But yeah, now I just need to hit the Death Egg robot a few more times. This takes a little bit longer than I would want it to, but you know, just you don't want to end up dying a bunch here, so at least I don't anyways. I already died twice, therefore defeating what was originally intended to be like a quote-unquote perfect playthrough, but yeah, that's alright. I still made it this far without death, and I think that's still worth a little bit of brownie points, right? There it is. That's the end of the Death Egg robot. That's the end of the Death Egg for now. And that's gonna do it for the Tales run of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, folks. The day has been saved. And you'll notice there's no cutscene here as there would be if you played as Sonic, but that's alright. Tails still saved the day. And he will fall to not his demise, but to wherever the heck it is. He will continue to fall and fall and fall while the music plays, as I always really kind of like this theme. It's got a good tone to it. But yeah, Tails continues to fall for a couple of seconds here. That's really the only thing that makes this any different from the cutscene that would appear in the Sonic run. But speaking of Sonic, there he is. He will rescue Tails. Some of the animal buddies will join us. And yeah, folks, the day has been saved for the time being anyways. And that's actually going to do it for the Sonic 2 Tails playthrough. Although, of course, it's still got the credits roll, but of course, roll makes me think of egg roll, and I want some egg rolls because I love egg rolls. Egg rolls are good. But anyways, Sonic 2 cast of characters, despite this being the credits for the developers and programmers and whatnot. I was actually reading that the story of the development of Sonic 2 is kind of a troubled process because the Japanese developers and American developers didn't mesh too well together, and most of the content that was cut from Sonic 2 was actually the American designed content, but oh well, Sonic 2 still turned out to be a pretty cool game if I do say so myself, and I mean it was still pretty successful, so whether or not that content was in the game probably wouldn't have done much otherwise, I don't feel. I mean, it would have gave us fans less to talk about, I guess. But anyways, I mean, Sonic 2 still gives you plenty to talk about, in my opinion, whether it's the history behind it, whether it's the actual game itself, and it will always remain in my top 5 favorite Sonic games, although sometimes it has been outside of that top 5. I would definitely currently put it in my top 5. Sonic 2 is a fun game. Go play it. Hell, maybe after I finish recording this part, I will probably play the original release of it. And of course, Dreams Come True is the name of the soundtrack band. That was the composer. I think it was one of the composers from that. It was a Japanese pop band that recorded the soundtrack for Sonic 1 and 2. I feel like the Dreams Come True work in Sonic 2 is a lot better. Soundtrack for this game is incredible. But yeah, just letting the credits roll, giving them credits where the credits are in fact due, if I do say so myself. And actually, I'm looking at the timer now, and that's going to be the tail end of it, folks. I want to thank y'all for tuning in for this bonus run of Sonic 2. Maybe one day I'll visit this game again. Maybe. Anyways, this game is Fromark Plays production presented by Sega. And I thank y'all for tuning in for this playthrough, and I will see you in whatever I do next. Anyways, this is Fromark signing off. See ya.